What up, Raffalitos? Welcome back to my channel. We are back on the east bank of Demerara. That's East Bank Public Road looking north towards Georgetown. And this is the East Bank Public Road looking south towards the airport. So what's happening? They closed this East Bank Public Road near Peters Hall. Morning. They closed the East Bank Public Road near Peters Hall over the weekend to do some work on the bridge. And because I knew they were going to do that, last week on Friday, I did a video update on the bridge. And today I want to see what they actually accomplished over the weekend. So I'm back here on the East Bank Tuesday. This is Tuesday, the 29th of July, to see how far they've come. I'm going to show you what has happened because I expected them to close all the gaps. Spoiler alert, they did not. So I don't know what they accomplished over the weekend, but we're going to find out in this video. So let's go. So guys, we're back here on this bridge. This is actually Echoes. We're at Echoes on the East Bank Public Road. It's about 6:40, about 20 minutes to 7. Last time we were here, there was fog. So that's the East Bank Public Road looking towards Georgetown. Like I said, last time we were here, there was fog. It's about 20 minutes to 7. And we couldn't see the bridge through the fog, but this time, the bridge is quite visible. So what do we see? Look at that, there's still a gap. So they did not close the gap, but they seem to have reached the last pillar between the high span section and the ramp. So that's the ramp section of the bridge coming from the east, from Heroes Highway, and that's the point at which the ramp connects to the high span section. That's the point at which the ramp connects to the high span section, and it has not yet been closed. So today is Tuesday the 29th of July, and that ramp isn't closed. That ramp isn't connected. Let's see what's happened at the other end of that high span section. So it seems as if they're almost touching. So the two high span sections are almost touching. They've almost reached the point where they are going to be connected, but they are not yet connected. And what's happening at the other end, that end of the high span section connects to the west coast stretch of bridge, and that part of the bridge has not yet been connected. So I really don't know what they accomplished over the weekend, but as you can see, there's still cranes at the top of the pillars. That's the second pair of pillars at the high span section, and this is the first set of pillars at the high span section. There are still cranes there. The cranes are still up. And this is what is happening on the East Bank Public Road heading towards the airport, Demerara Airport. Now let's take a closer look. We're going to go closer to the bridge to see what is happening, what did they manage to accomplish, and where is the construction, what progress they've made in the construction. So here we are at Echoes. We're going to go all the way to Peters Hall, which is about half a mile away from here. We're going to take a look at it again from the overpass, that is the pedestrian overpass at Peters Hall. And then we're going to get right up onto the bridge to see if we can spot the difference between the way it was on Friday and before they closed the bridge, before they closed the road to today. This is the overpass, the pedestrian overpass that we were on. Like I said, each one of them has lifts, but the lifts don't work. So let's head over to the bridge, the new Demerara River Bridge, and see what did they accomplish after closing the road for 48 hours last weekend. Let's go. We're at Baggettstown, guys. This is the intersection, the famous intersection. Just left Eccles. That's the sign saying you're entering Eccles. And we're standing at the road from Baggettstown to the Eccles interchange. Right, so that's the road from Baggettstown to Eccles interchange. We've looked at this road in the past, even before it was open. Problems, of course, with the absence of turning lanes and intersections without traffic lights and so on. Standing problems that are quite common now with the new construction of these roads. But we're still heading towards the bridge, that is East Bank Public Road, looking back where we've come from since we came down off of the pedestrian overpass at Eccles. And straight ahead of us now is the bridge. So you can see that's the overpass, that is the bridge overpass at Peters Hall and Providence. And before that, that's the pedestrian overpass at Peters Hall. We're going to go onto that overpass and take a closer look at the bridge before we pass under the bridge. And so that's why we're heading in this direction. But they had closed this public road over the weekend from Saturday morning to Monday morning, and I presume that they had done so to join the sections of the bridge that are still separate, disconnected. However, what we've seen so far is that they haven't joined those sections of the bridge, so we're going to find out what actually happened over the weekend. But more importantly, last time we were here, there was a thick fog, a dense fog, covering the bridge, hiding the bridge, and that pointed out some new hazards, some new challenges that have to be addressed. Some people don't seem to understand the seriousness of that hazard, that challenge. And the people telling me, well, there's fog elsewhere, and people in other countries deal with fog, and all they have to do is to turn on the lights. The problem, of course, is that fog is not like any other hazard. It's actually blinding. Turning on the lights doesn't make a difference. You need fog lights, which are usually positioned very close to the road, that is at the bottom of your front bumper and at the rear, a red fog light in the rear. And you have to make sure that these are working. In a country like Guyana that doesn't deal with fog, it is quite possible that the majority of cars on the road don't have working fog lights. And beyond that, people don't know how to use the fog lights. Most people probably don't know where the switch is to turn on their fog lights, or when to use the fog lights, or how to use it. So these are the issues that have to be faced. That is the bridge. Last time we were here, I tried to show you from this location that the bridge is normally visible. Here you can see a rainbow. That's new. It's still a rainy season for some reason. It's the end of July and it's still raining every day, regularly. Which is what happened last year, actually. One of the reasons why I didn't film a lot of videos during the middle of the year last year, I realized, is that I was just simply not filming during the rainy period. And it would rain for 2 weeks every year, every month. And that meant that I didn't capture 2 weeks every month. But here it is. That's the That's the gap between the high span section and the ramp as seen from Peters Hall. And the last time we were here, I tried to show you this particular view and we couldn't see it because the fog was so dense. This tells you how dense that fog was, because if you compare this video today and the video from Friday, you will see that from this location, nothing was visible. But as you can see here, standing at the intersection where we are, that is this intersection of Peters Hall Public Road and the entrance to the Demerara Harbor Bridge. You can see the bridge is clearly visible. But we couldn't see this the last time we were here. Right, we couldn't see that. This is 7, well, it's about 10 minutes to 7 on Tuesday morning. This is the old Demerara Harbor Bridge. Traffic coming towards us is crossing from the west bank to the east bank towards Georgetown. We're going to climb this pedestrian overpass. We're going to climb this pedestrian overpass and see what we can see from high up. Like I said, somebody was asking about these lifts. This is what is happening. Apparently, the glass is broken. There's moss on the ground, which means that it's leaking. So that's what's happening with our lovely infrastructure. I think these were built sometime during the pandemic. These overpasses were built about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago during the pandemic. And they're already disintegrating, falling apart. That's a problem with the culture of the society, is that we don't have a culture of maintenance. Spend all this money to build stuff, but there's no budget to maintain it and keep it working. Morning. So here from the top of the overpass, that is the East Bank Public Road looking north towards Georgetown. Right, that's the East Bank Public Road looking north towards Georgetown. And of course that's the traffic from the old bridge, but this is what we're here to see. This is what the bridge looks like. From the overpass here at Peters Hall, there you can see the gap between the high span section. Right, that's the gap between the high span section and the ramp, and of course continues the high span section. That is, the two high span sections are almost ready to be joined, but they're not quite there yet. And this is what the rest of that the ramp section looks like. Alright, so that's the ramp. Now the question is, what did they do over the weekend? What did they do over the weekend? It's not visible. I can't guess what changed. What I do know is the last time we were here on Friday, we couldn't see very much of anything through the fog. We certainly couldn't see the high span section, and we couldn't see that gap, and we couldn't see what else had not